to purchase a site like that, maybe 1.2 million, then to build it round about the same, he or she is making about 6 million from that. When I finished my bachelor's degree, I had a job the next day because these architects that helped me knew what I was about. I got to set up my own shop one day. I got to set up my own place. Spoke to. Again, you need to speak to everyone. For anyone starting a business, for anyone starting a company, tell everyone what you're doing. People need to look at you and go, I trust this guy. I know this guy's who he says he is.
Hi there and welcome to your local entrepreneur podcast. I am your host, Mr. Kamran Khan, and thank you for joining us. In today's episode, we spoke to Mr. Mohsin Khan, owner, founder and director of Samson Spaces, a construction company based here in East London. Now, they're a lot more than just a construction company. They are essentially a team of architects, planning consultants, engineers, and really just high-end development specialists. And at the helm of this multi-million pound project is Mohsin Khan, who himself is only 27 years old. He started the company at 24, and from our research, he's probably the youngest owner of an architectural practice in all of the UK. Now, if you can prove me wrong, by all means get in touch. It's Kamran at yourlocalentrepreneur.co.uk. Now, that being said, Mohsin is definitely someone who I'd call a thoroughbred entrepreneur. When people talk about somebody who's got it, this is definitely a chap who's got it. He's very hardworking, he's driven, and I honestly believe that what we're seeing right now is a glimpse of his true potential. And I think in 5 years' time, who knows where he'll be. And I just hope that when that time does come, by all means, we can have a part 2 to this interview. Growing up into university life, how he was essentially self-funding his maintenance fees at university by actually just doing drawings for people who needed a loft or extension done. And he says that before he started Samson Spaces, he had close to 1,000 of those underneath his belt already. So yeah, definitely somebody who's got it. So I believe it's one worthwhile for anybody with any aspirations to get into a similar field, or somebody who wants to find themselves and to know where their place in the world fits. So by all means, check out the interview. Let me know what you think. Leave some feedback. And we look forward to hearing from you guys. So look, I'll leave you guys to it. We'll cut straight to the interview. Thank you very much. And I'll see you on the other side.
Hi folks, and welcome to your local entrepreneur. My name is Kamran Khan, and today I have the pleasure of speaking to Mohsin Khan, owner, director, founder of Samson Space.
It's a big title.
And you guys are designers, engineers, what else? You everything under the roof, really,
architects, planning consultants, creatives, and fellow geniuses.
No,
I shouldn't say that.
I had the pleasure of obviously visiting one of your sites, and I think it was on Skelton's. I think there's
Skelton's Lane
in Leighton. What are you building there? Was it 9 flats, 12 flats?
9 units, 9 beautiful residential units.
Yes.
With a beautiful wraparound corner commercial building, which is for sale now.
Okay. And did you guys design and plan from top to bottom?
Yeah.
Because it looks phenomenal, what I was looking at.
So actually, that one's very interesting, actually. We purchased the site, or our client purchased the site, and it already had planning for 8 okay apartments. They were okay. They were 1 and 2 bedders, and they were designed okay. And I'm not in the business of saying anyone's work is less superior to ours or anything, but it was good. But it had room for improvement, room for growth, and room for more to be delivered by the site. So we resubmitted the planning application actually entirely, and redesigned the building's footprint and redesigned elements of the building.
Yeah.
And got 9 beautiful, juicy apartments. High-end apartments, open plan. The guys at the back, which were initially just 1 or 2 apartments, we got 3 houses there.
Yeah.
So we increased the GDV by an awful lot.
And for those who are not familiar with the GDV, what's that? Sounds really technical.
It is really technical, but it really isn't. It's gross development value of
the
site. So our client was over the moon, and the people that are going to live there are over the moon, because it went from a really standard building to something that you would see in the highest end of London. So it was a really fun project for us because my guys were interested in seeing how can they rearrange this already approved building and redesign it and put the Samson Space stamp on it. So it was a fun process to where it is now.
Can you talk about, without maybe not give the exact figure, but a job like that or a development like that, what's that costing someone?
So on average, to purchase a site like that, maybe 1.2 million.
Okay.
And then to build it round about the same.
Yeah.
1.2, 1.5.
And you guys, obviously, stupid question, but you guys are quoting to the very tip top. But obviously, you give your quotes that you're accounting for everything.
Down to the last screw.
And then you turn up to your developer and say, yeah, that'd be about £1.4 million, please.
In a nicer way, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that does take, forgive me, it does take some balls, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when in some of the other lower end jobs I had, I remember thinking it was really hard to tell somebody, yeah, that would be £500 a month. And you think, oh, can you afford it? Can you not afford it? It's a bit much. He might look at me and say, come on, mate, can you haggle it down? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
But, it does take a lot to tell someone, the quote for your job will be about £1.3 million.
Your construction is going to cost you £2 million, sir. So do you want to pay in check? Yeah, of course it is. But if you look at it on the bigger picture, he or she is making about 6 million from that.
Oh, wow.
6.5. So they've spent 1.2, 1.5, but they've made 6 by the time we're done with it.
Yeah.
Their
so
profit margin.
You're dealing with big players, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, Skelton Lanes was one of the medium-scale projects that you saw. So it ranges from 9 units like the one you saw to 90 units or 100 units or 200 units. So the level that you're playing with is always the footprint of the site or the development scale of the site.
So how did Samson Space come into fruition?
Yeah.
Did it start off with a boy in a dream?
As cliche as it sounds, yeah. I was 11 years old, 12 years old when I said, I'm going to go and study architecture and I'm going to train to become an architect and I'm going to have my own practice. I said it when I was very young and I think there's some video of me as a kid drawing somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, because I remember we were talking about when you have an idea in your mind and you have a vision or a goal or an idea, it can stem from as early as 11 years old or even younger. You look at some of the greats, they knew what they were doing. Now, that's obviously not the only way, but for me, certainly I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Did you know at 12?
Yeah, I
knew. Did you know you were going to build?
See,
and make and develop? Or was it just, I know I'm going to do...
It's going to sound really unrelated, but it is entirely related. So you remember Pokemon?
Yes.
And this is going to sound different. Pokemon?
Yes.
And he's now making buildings?
Yes.
You remember Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z and all these cartoons that used to come on? Do you remember? In the 90s? I used to draw all of those characters on the playground. I would draw those characters and pretty nicely. They'd look pretty much exactly as they were shown on the TV.
Yeah.
And they'd be shaded and coloured and it would look like it was popping out of the page and all of this stuff. And I would sell those drawings in the playground.
Look at you.
For 30p, 50p. Maybe £1, maybe.
Yeah.
And because I was making £2-3 a day, I could go to the tuck shop and buy sweets from the tuck shop.
Yeah.
Or a cracker with cheese on it. Fancy. But that's what they used to sell.
Pretty
in the
fancy
tuck shop.
toy.
Pretty fancy toy, yes. Crumpets, anyone?
Yes.
And it was very early on that I realised that if I wanted to have financial stability, from very, very young, I knew that growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. And growing up, I knew it.
Really?
Just from my friends having pocket money.
Yeah.
Things like that. To not having, your friends are saying, oh, let's just go and do this after school and we'll buy this. And you're kind of going, how do I do that? So you have to figure out a way to keep up, if that makes any sense. So from very early on, I realized that I'm doing these drawings in the playground and I'm selling them to my friends, to other people, to kids in other year groups, because the drawings were so amazing, even if I say so myself. And it was a really early establishment in my mind that if I'm good at something, you can make something of it.
So when you hit, after you did, I'm assuming you did your GCSEs and your A-levels.
Yeah.
So when the time came to deciding on a course to go for university, you knew it was going to be...
There was no doubt.
Architecture. No
doubt. I said, I'm going to train to become an architect. I'm going to study architture. And I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. And when you have that in your head, you enjoy every minute in that lecture hall.
How many of your class fellows actually proceed to go on to do something to do with architecture? Because I know one guy he's got a degree in architecture, but he's the best damn Foot Locker manager.
Hey.
It's not cussing anybody who looks at Foot Locker, but it's...
I bet he knows how to tie a shoelace pretty well.
Yeah, but he's got, like I said, an architecture degree. It's all behind him.
Yeah.
Not many people use their degree to fruition. I mean, let's face it, there's plenty of people out there with LLB law degrees, and none of them got into legal practice. As people done the LPC and never went to become solicitors.
Yeah.
So how do you, of your sort of your kind of class fellows, how many do you know of that actually went on to use their degree?
Like architecture is such a... People think it's quite seclusive, and if you train architecture, you have to become an architect. It's not the case. You do a degree like architecture or anything to do with graphics or design, or architecture is quite narrow in the sense that it's to do with design and buildings, but people often, loads of my friends went off to work in, fashion, or designing furniture, or designing windows, really bespoke windows, but more so to the fashion and furniture. You wouldn't learn anything about that in your architecture degree, but you develop the set of skills to be able to put the pen on the piece of paper and create something of value. That's what you're doing.
There's a lot of talk. I mean, I'm also talking about education, university. There's a lot of talk about, there is out there. You don't need to go to university. It's a con. It's way too much money. And maybe if you're going out there to study something which has no real qualified backing behind it, I can understand that argument to some extent.
Yeah.
But I was with a supplement shop owner actually on the last podcast. Really animated character, great guy. Shout out to Fab. And I was expecting him to say, you don't need university, you don't need a degree. You can just go in there and go with it on. But he was a big advocate for actually going forward and doing your degree, going to university for the experience, meeting new people, maybe getting your skill set and understanding more about potentially markets and everything else.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way? Do you think that university is required, or would you encourage it?
See, the simple answer to that is it depends on many different things. If you're someone who wants to become a doctor, you can't say, I'm experienced enough to do heart surgery on this man. I don't have a degree, but I'll tell you what, I know how to use this knife. You need the degree, right?
Yeah.
But in business or in so many different fields, you don't need a degree.
Yeah,
you can develop the skills through learning it. Yeah. So many engineers now become engineers by getting out there and putting two wires together and learning on the job. So many engineers or craftsmen did no degree, but they learnt through the process. Personally, I think a degree is very, very important, simply because it teaches you structure, it teaches you to have goals, and it puts you through a process where you come out of the other end having learnt an awful lot, even if that isn't to do with anything to do with what you're going to do. You develop these skills, you carry yourself in a way that an education actually builds you up to do. So simple things like time management, deadlines, relationships, how to communicate with people. People don't appreciate the importance of communication. The first and foremost thing in business is communication. The first and foremost in anything to do with being successful in any industry is how do you communicate? And most degrees will give you the basic feel of how to deal with people, how to deal with yourself.
There's a student out there right now probably listening to this.
I hope so.
Having pizza for breakfast, thinking, whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
Okay, so you've done just to finish on the university part of things. Someone who's probably just done the degree or finished the degree or is on course to go into architecture or think about getting into architecture. Let's say you've done that, you finished it off. Do you have anything you'd recommend for them to get into that field, or to sort of just get themselves recognised, or get a foot into the door, as opposed to, because it's one of the things we traditionally was taught. I don't know if it was just as an immigrant background, but it was get the education, get the degree, apply for the job, get the job, you win. Right? And we've all known it's not as simple as that. You get the degree, and then some people, to some extent, really have to kind of hustle to get their foot in through the door.
Yeah.
So how do you say? Any advice you'd give someone who's just probably finishing their degree in architecture? Where to go from here?
Become a sponge. Become a big sponge that just takes in information and speak to everyone. Speak to people. Anyone you go across, you meet, lecturer, person, friend, tell them what you're interested in. Speak to them. Pick their brain.
Yeah.
The more people you have access to, the more likely that you're going to end up speaking to some. This is how I know, actually. Why don't you? You need to speak to people and you need to absorb information. Now, in particular to architecture, but this applies to most industries, whether it's whatever it is, construction, design, fashion, engineering, finance, law. My advice would always be to start small.
Yes.
So it's going to look great on your CV that you worked for a 5,000 employee company. But what do you actually learn from that? You going in as you're not even a cog at this point. You're a fresh graduate or about to graduate or in the interim of doing your degree or about to, whatever it is, whatever stage you're at the moment, you're not a cog yet. And this big machine is working. You go into a big company and chances are you're going to be making coffees or doing the mundane tasks that no one else wants to do. Yeah. You go into a medium-sized company, small company, you're actually someone of value. You go into these companies and you realize the small company, the medium company, you're actually picking information up because you're being trusted with things that a big company would never trust you to do.
Yes.
So in my experience and in 50 other people that I know in their experience, the small in the beginning was the fundamental thing for them to be a sponge and absorb, learn, write down, take notes, ask questions. The first 5 years are you just taking in information. You never stop taking in information. You're always a sponge. Yeah. But that crucial period of when you've just sort of got into whatever you're doing, you need to keep your eyes open, your ears peeled. You need to be taking in anything that you can get. So in a small company, in a small infrastructure, you can learn an awful lot. You can take in so much information because a small company is doing everything themselves most of the time.
Now, obviously, you don't go from starting off doing multi-million pound projects, you know. Did you obviously you work up towards something like that? Yeah. What was your journey like? What did you start off doing first? What, the kitchens and whatnot? What was it?
It's a really, really interesting story.
Okay.
And I hope somewhere someone can relate to this because this was insane. But at the time I didn't understand it. But later on I go, man, if it wasn't for that, I would have. So I was about 17, I think, 16, 17. I was just about to go start my degree.
You better stop.
I was just about to start my degree. So I knew I was going to uni. I was excited.
Yeah.
I had no money. And I'm thinking, okay, maintenance grants maybe, or I might get a job in a restaurant. I don't know. Anything. I'm used to scrapping and getting, working whatever you can to eat. Yeah. Because we were never in the position of, let me just ask my mum. We didn't have it. You had to make it. So I was saying, when I was doing the drawings in the playground, I had to make it. To eat, you had to make it. And it was like that throughout high school. So it was a very similar approach. I need to do something that I can feed myself. I don't have to go to student loans and stuff. So I come home one day, and my mum says, I spoke to Auntie Naz. I'm going to call her Auntie Naz. Her name probably isn't Auntie Naz. Okay. Auntie Naz, if you're listening. And she said, I told her you're going to do her rear extension on her house, her kitchen. You're going to do her kitchen. And I said, what? She said, yeah, you're going to do her extension for her. I said, Mum, I haven't started my degree yet.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go and build someone. What do you mean? She said, I've already told her you're doing it. And that means I have to do it now. Yeah. Otherwise, get my ass kicked. So I said, I said, all right, when do I have to? She said, you have to go see her, today. I've already told her, go on, get on the bus. And I went to her house and I thought, okay, I have to pretend like I know what I'm doing because Auntie Naz is relying on my mum. Okay. And if I don't do this, I'm getting beaten up. But my mum's going to kick my teeth in. Okay. So I went into her house and I pretended like I knew what I was doing. I said, yeah, what do you want? What is it, for 6 meters? Yeah, no problem. Yeah, okay, 6 meters. What is that, a window? Yeah.
Did you do a measuring tape out and everything?
Tape measuring, what am I just pretending to measure? Okay, that looks about okay. Yeah, auntie. Oh yeah, I got it. Hey, come
and
on.
you're what, 18 at this point?
17.
You're 17.
17, around that age.
Auntie Naz has a lot of faith in his 17.
Auntie Nez, you know what it was? I just started to get facial hair, so I started to look a bit. Okay, yeah, he's a man. And I wore a shirt and everything
Yeah.
because I needed to convince her and me
Yeah.
at the same time. You have to set up this image that no, you trust me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm 17 and I go into a house and I'm going, oh yeah, okay, what's that? Okay, yeah, it's 6 meters. Yeah, what do you want? A kitchen there? Yeah, we'll put the kitchen. It'll be lovely. Yeah, what's that? Marble? Yeah, fine. Just winged it. Yeah. Came home and realized I had to draw this up somehow. Now I didn't know how to do drawings at this point or anything.
Okay.
And I drew what I thought what the planning authority. I didn't even know they were a planning authority. I thought it's the council. That's all I knew. The word council.
Yeah.
That's how you know I knew nothing about this.
Yeah. Completely winging
Completely winging it. And I drew what I thought was a beautiful extension with a pitched roof and a nice roof light and da-da-da-da. And the council loved it. They loved it. They said, this is beautiful. Yeah, we can approve this. Da-da-da. Just send us this information and we'll approve it. And I went, what? They approved it. And my auntie went and built her extension. And it's still there to this day. And it's part of her home.
Did you charge her?
No, that was the worst thing. I couldn't even charge her. But what that did for me, Auntie Nez got a great deal. She's got a free extension. So what that did was give me the understanding of how that process works. Of going to someone's house, saying, this is what you're, okay, why don't we try this? Why don't putting it through the process and getting an approval for someone and getting it built.
Is that got a lot to do with confidence?
100%. I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
So I was able to blag it at that time.
Yeah.
But not knowing anything. But it was how you carry yourself that you convince someone that I'm the guy for this job. If you go with anyone else, you're going to kick yourself.
Yeah.
So and then I took that process and what happened was her neighbor saw her beautiful new extension and said, who did you use? And she says, oh, I used Mohsin.
Yeah.
I got a call. I said, yeah, I'll charge you. In that time it was pennies, but for a 17-year-old, it was a lot of money.
Did you know how much to charge, or were you just throwing up a number in the air?
Winging it. Complete winging it. If I knew, I would have charged a lot more. But it gave me okay, I know how this process works now. And I probably did close to 1,000 lofts and extensions after that process. To the point where I didn't take any student grants because I was making money from doing lofts and extensions.
Wow, so that's why you're self-funding.
And building up the understanding of how things are put together. Understanding that process of this is a drawing and now this is built. And I made so many mistakes.
No, it does remind me of something though. It reminds you of because sometimes when you start a business or you start getting into something, you generate some revenue, and people have this thing where it's like, I have my price, I'm not budging from that price. But sometimes I think in the beginning it's worthwhile doing a few of those sort of deals
100%.
Because you're going to get so much more out of it than the other person actually. Okay, they might get the drawing for an extension, but now you've got some real time, feet on the ground, real experience.
That's exactly it. That as well as you being able to build someone's house for them, in that process you're picking up all of the skills involved in doing that.
Yeah.
You're picking up all of the different things that go together to do that. And what I used to do, and this is what I emphasize about speaking to people, being able to go and ask people for help. So I would write to about 20 different architects.
Okay.
And say, look, I'm about to study architecture. Someone wants to do an extension. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Really? You just cold
letters, emails, calls.
Are these directors of companies, I'm assuming?
Reputable companies.
How many of them got back to you?
3.
Out of?
20.
Okay, not bad odds. And the 3 that got back to you, did they admire here's a young chap reaching out for expertise?
I think it was a mix of I feel really sorry for this kid, and they might have seen themselves in that because they were also the CEOs of their companies. I was hearing back from the guys who run the companies, not the little guy in the company. I was hearing from the top dog of the company. Yeah. This is why I emphasize small and medium practices. The big companies didn't even bother reading my email.
Yeah, you're just one of who knows how many. There's reading that email.
My mentors, Milan Babic, one of the brilliant architects that I got to work for, Milan Babic was one of the guys who responded to me and said, come and see me. Probably felt sorry for me.
Yeah.
Come and see me and I'll show you how to do this extension.
Yeah.
I said, what time, when? Tell me when I'm there. Because you're a sponge right now.
Yeah.
I went to his office. I showed him the terrible drawing that I did. And he threw a big sheet of tracing paper over it. He said, if you did drawings like... I remember how he said it. He said, if you did drawings for me like this, you'd get a bollocking. And I thought, oh man, this guy's a legend.
Yeah.
I was so nervous. I didn't even want to... He offered me chocolate fingers and I didn't want to eat them. I was so nervous. I'm in the presence of the guy I want to be. I want to be this guy.
Oh, wow.
With this practice that he's running, I want to be this guy. But I'm only 17. And he put the thing over and he said, another architect, Hassan Ali, who's a brilliant lecturer at Queen Mary. Amazing, amazing architect. He did the same thing, Iranian architect. Amazing. He said, I went and saw him, same thing. Tell me when and where I'm there. I don't care how early. I don't care what time of day I'm there. I just want to learn. I just need to learn. I want to see how you do things.
Yeah.
Milan and Hassan, for me, my mentors.
Yeah.
They both did the same thing, and I still do this to this day. Tracing paper, and Hassan was an Iranian guy. He said, you draw the line and you put it like that. Yeah, Hassan would love that. Imitation is the best form of it. Okay. And he said, you draw the line and you put it like that. 50 mil screed, concrete. And I was learning.
Yeah.
No first year knows how to put together a building. I did, because I spoke to the people that do it every day, that have been doing it for 30 years, and they were happy to give me that information. If you put yourself out there, you write 30 emails, one of them is going to come back to you.
Yeah.
One of them is going to say, okay, I got half an hour on Tuesday, yeah, just come and see me now. So I went and I learned.
And you still stay in contact with these guys?
Yeah, to this day.
And you still refer back to them?
Yeah. So, again, the importance of building connections and telling people what you're doing. When I finished my bachelor's degree, I had a job the next day because these architects that helped me knew what I was about. They said, this guy's so hungry, he's going to come and work his socks off for me.
Yeah.
They were offering me jobs before I even graduated. They said, why don't you come and please, look, we got a space here. We know that you can already do construction drawings because we taught you how to do these.
Yeah.
Come and show us what you can do. And I said, I'm there. The day after my graduation, when everyone was partying, everyone was there, everyone was, taking 3 weeks off to go travel somewhere, I was at work. I worked my first day at work. I was there at 9 a.m. I was actually earlier than that. I was there at 8:30, half an hour early.
Yeah.
In a suit. No architect wears a 3-piece suit. I wore a suit.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, business.
You showed up.
I showed up. Fresh trim, black tie, black shoes. I was there. I said, I'm here and I'm here to learn. And I spent 2-3 years working, practice, speaking to architects, absorbing, building, honing. That is the only way you can then go, I'm going to do this by myself now.
Sometimes, even in that setup, and I've seen it from other employees, because how is that a difficult conversation to have when the guy who's also mentored you and employed you, and you say to him, thanks for that, Mr. Ali. I think I'm really good at what I'm doing right now. So
see ya.
I'm gonna be your competition. So I'll see you in 10 years. I mean, is that a difficult conversation to have, or do you go and do it and think, hopefully, he won't see me?
See, one of the things that I don't really talk about because it's embarrassing, but I'm fine to speak about it now.
Okay, is
that I was actually a terrible employee. That's the truth.
Most business owners are actually.
I was speaking to a friend of mine who designs restaurants, and we were looking at some restaurants that we were going to rejig and redesign.
Yeah.
And he said, would you employ yourself?
Yeah.
No chance.
Really?
No way. Because I know what my goal is. If I saw myself, I'd say, you're going to be with me for 2-3 years, you're going to learn all of the trades, you're going to absorb, take, and you're going to build something.
Yeah.
I was a really bad employee. That's the bottom line. Because I was always focused on, I got to set up my own shop one day.
Yeah.
I got to set up my own place.
Was it difficult to have the conversation with the mentor when you said to him, I'm going to be...
You know what it is?
I'm departing. Thanks for everything, guys.
The level that they were at when I was leaving, they weren't concerned that I was going to... they weren't concerned that this guy's going to take all my clients. They weren't...
Like Mohsin.
Yeah, they were actually very, very supportive. Yeah. Funnily enough. They were really, really supportive that... they did the same thing to their boss one day.
Yeah.
They were working in a practice one day, and they said, I have to go and do this myself. And the way that transition, as scary as it is, because now you're responsible for your paycheck every month.
Yeah.
You're not in the system anymore. You're not in the system that I know I'm getting this amount every month, and that pays for this, and that pays for this, and if I don't get that income, I'm homeless, basically.
Yeah.
Which is the scary thing about doing that step, which is why you have to set yourself up and really know when to take that.
And so did Samson kind of come into fruition after you've left these guys?
Yeah, so what happened was when I was 17 doing those lofts and extensions, I set up a little company called MK Arc. Really cliche Mohsin Khan architecture. Really,
It wasn't taken, no?
No, it was only it was a really MK Arc. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, perfect. And I set up MK Arc, and just lofts and extensions. But having a stamp on a piece of paper that says your company name, even though it's just me at that time, it's just me. I am MK Arc. Was probably the best feeling in the world. And when I decided to go full-time just on my own company, my own projects, my own clients, which started as a very small flock of clients.
Were they like referrals or?
Yeah, there were people that
Someone knew you
spoke to.
Yeah.
Again, you need to speak to everyone. For anyone starting a business, for anyone starting a company, tell everyone what you're doing. The more people you open up to and say, hey, look here.
Yeah.
Just look this way.
Yeah.
Your network should be this big. You should have as many eyes on you as possible. When you have a network this big, even if 1% of those goes, oh, what's he doing?
Yeah.
That's enough.
It was really funny you say that, because I was on the phone to someone yesterday actually, and he's I'm going to make this business, I'm going to do this, or some sort of online business. But his whole thing was, don't tell anyone I'm doing it. Like, really, why? He's I don't really want people to know about it just yet. I go, well, what about afterwards? You let people know about afterwards? He goes, yeah, maybe, but I'm just going to kind of write to see if it goes well. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, and everybody has, sometimes from a South Asian background, we have this concept of, don't tell everybody what you're doing, because somebody might give you evil eye and they might damn you for what you're doing as well. But then I remember reading a book, I think it was a James Caan book actually, and he was like, if you're going to start a business, tell everybody, because you need people to know what you're doing, because you're the guy who does that, for example. So nowadays, even if I have a business idea or something, I might just throw it to somebody else. Like, what do you think? And it was this whole thing that I'm going to start a business, but you got to sign this non-disclosure agreement, or bro, swear on your mum's life you don't tell nobody about this. I'm like, okay then. But one thing I do know is, if I had a time machine, I guarantee you this, bro. If there ever was a case where there was a time machine and I went back 30, 40 years and I thought, I'll make Facebook, I probably wouldn't pull it off like Mark Zuckerberg did, because no matter who starts the business, no one's going to do it the way you do it.
The way you do it.
Somebody might try tomorrow making a replica of Samson Space. They might watch this podcast and I could do what Mohsin does, but they might not do it with the same flair, the same flavour, the same anything.
Ultimately, business comes down to relationships with people. People need to look at you and go, I trust this guy. I know this guy's who he says he is.
Yeah.
This guy is genuine. And maybe I'm old-fashioned that way, but I have kept my company away from corporate jargon purposefully, because I'm interested in this. Yeah. I'm interested in people. When I meet a new client, I could send my assistant architect, or I could send my architects to go and see them.
Yeah.
But they're not going to speak to them the way I'm going to speak to them, because they didn't give birth to Samson Space. As much as they might care about the company, and that's one of the reasons why we are where we are, is because the employees are equally invested in the company as I am.
Yeah.
They're really passionate about, and you have to take care of your employees. Take care of your employees, and the employees take care of the business.
Yeah.
Live by that. But I have to go and see my client. I have to look him or her in the eyes and say, we're going to do this, and it's going to be amazing. If I give them that, they're never going to need to go to anyone else.
I've noticed as well, because I was watching something the other day about salesmen, and sometimes the salesmen that are employed by you, they love going to a meeting, they love fixing up a meeting, because deep down they want to make a sale, make a pitch, and they really just want to be liked. Oh, he really liked me, that guy. I did, so I try and make a bit of banter and try and get all like cozy with him.
Yeah.
And then they might come back from the meeting and be like, yeah, Mohsin, "Oh, he really liked us. Did he make a decision? Oh, he's going to think about it. He'll get back to me." And sometimes some salesmen, not all salesmen, but generally some salespeople, they'll go in, give it a shot. He said no. But I think sometimes when you're vested into the business, like for example yourself, you are the business actually. You turning up for a sales pitch is going to be a hell of a lot more different to the guy who you employed to turn up for your sales pitch.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think so. We've started to experiment with social media because I think social media we're living in an amazing time. As messed up social media as it can be, it's also really incredible.
Yeah.
Because you have an outreach. So what I was talking about, everyone look here.
Yeah.
Everyone look in this direction. Look what I'm doing. Because of social media, you can have 1 million people looking at you by the click of a button.
Practically, yeah.
So, one of the Samson Space adverts that went out.
Yeah, I love that advert.
So we had an idea.
Yeah.
I was thinking, and I was talking to my filmmaker friend. And I'm sure you love him. You need to meet him. You're just as, the creative that you have. He's exactly like, And I said, I've got this idea. I want to speak directly to my market.
Yeah.
I want to speak to them. They should see it and go, man, this guy's talking to me. He's in my bedroom right now. And I had this idea. I said, I need to just say in 30 seconds why someone should come to Samson Space. And that was it. That was literally it.
Did you write the script for that?
Yeah.
Because I'm getting the vibe that you wrote the script.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember how it came off. It just starts with who you were.
That's it.
And it was like, why are you wasting your time with someone
I'm
else?
Mohsin Khan. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very...
Yeah, and it was...
I'm Troy McClure. Right?
Yeah. And no, but there was a part of it, I think, which was, why are you wasting your time with somebody else? Come to us.
Straightforward.
It's quite sharkish, but I like it.
It is.
But when you know you're that good, it kind of is the point.
You see, I'm not in the business of putting anyone else down in order to get up.
Yeah.
But I am in the business of saying I'm better than anyone else. There's no problem in saying that. There's no problem in being aware of how good your team is.
Yeah.
And if your track record shows that, you have every right to show it. You have every right to talk about it. That's business.
Yeah.
If you're good at something, tell everyone.
You can't turn up to a meeting and say, we're all right. We'll make you a decent building.
You go to a tailor and he goes, yeah, I might be able to get the jacket right, but it could really go horribly wrong and I could ruin this £300 jacket.
Yeah.
You're going to say, give me my jacket back.
Yeah.
If you believe every word he says,
and
he's got 9 jackets there in front of you that are beautifully made, you're going to say, do this jacket and do my friend's jacket as well.
Do you know when you did your first project for Samson? I'm talking about the first big one. The one where you told your customer this would be, X amount of million, whatever it is. What was that like? Because I'm assuming as well, the kind of clientele you get here, they are talking to other architects, they are talking to other businesses.
Of course, no problem.
It's a huge investment, and they're gonna just like what everybody else does. They kind of cross-check with everybody else. So, first project on board. Okay, it's not on board by now. Right now, you're just doing the numbers on it, and it's time to call him back and tell him what his numbers are gonna his price
fee.
Yeah. Do you remember that? What was that like?
Yeah. Very, very clearly.
Because at this point, you're a 25-year-old kid or 24?
23 turning on 24.
Okay, so you're a 23, 24-year-old chap who's like, of course I'll build your building. Yeah.
Man,
And by this point, you haven't got a building to your name. You've got lofts and extensions, for example.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now take us through there. What was that like?
It was a really, really scary process. But being scared on the inside, being scared and showing it on your face is the difference between convincing someone and not convincing someone.
Yeah.
If you can get through that and still keep your whatever it is that is getting you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Whether that's your pitch, how you dress, whatever it is, whatever that thing is that people flock to, or whatever you figured out that makes you unique, your USP.
Yeah.
You put that forward. So for me, that first building was a building that had already been designed.
Yeah.
It'd already been approved in planning. And I realized where my expertise was starting to develop.
Yeah.
So we looked at the building and we said, no disrespect, but this can be so much better.
Did you say that?
Yep.
First job?
I said, you've purchased this site already.
Yeah.
You've got planning for 7 flats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, small to medium project, 7 flats.
Yeah.
Tracing paper.
Okay.
Learn from the best.
Yeah.
Tracing paper over the top. And I'm talking to them as if I've done this 10 million times before this moment.
Yeah.
This pencil's done this millions of times.
But you've sat in that chair and saw it being done millions of times also, so you've got the flair of
How they even put the paper down on the table, man. How they take the pen. That eye contact between the client and yours. That whole process.
Yeah.
Business is this. As much as it comes down to money and numbers and emails and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
this is where it starts. So I remember we were sat in a cafe and I went and saw, and we had our drawings printed out, or their drawings that they already had approved. Tracing paper over the top. Very important fold in the tracing paper. Pen. Now if we did this and move this around here, we start to look at incorporating 2 new residential apartments. And not any residential apartments. Beautiful 3-bedroom duplex apartments.
Yeah.
What does that do to your GDV, gross development value, for those watching?
Yeah.
What does that do for your GDV?
Yeah.
Increases it by 2 million.
What happens when they say, "That's a great idea, Mohsin. Can I see your last building you did?"
Absolutely.
What'd you say? But you haven't got a building by this point.
No problem.
Mm.
Have a look at this. Have a look at this.
Yeah.
And I'm just showing them the one house, the one redesign of this cluster of this house. And I'm saying, convincing them essentially,
Yeah.
I can get this through planning.
Yeah.
And here's a trade secret, word exclusive inside. I won't take any fees until I get you planning.
Oh.
Sometimes, you remember what we were talking
Ballsy.
about? Remember what we were talking about?
Yeah.
About in the beginning, you need to find where you're at,
Yeah.
and you give someone that much confidence. I won't take any fees until I get you planning. That is putting everything on me and taking everything away from them.
Yeah.
They feel no responsibility if this
Yeah.
works or not. If it doesn't work, they just crack on with the building that they got approved.
Yeah.
But I knew I was going to make it work. I knew it because I'd seen this done. So I went, this is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
We won't charge you a penny. But when I get you planning, then we're going to talk. Because then I know you're not going to go to anyone else, because how much more have I put in your pocket? How much have I improved the fabric of the building?
Mm.
People are going to want to live here because it went from this really, cramped,
Yeah.
okay, copy-paste design to a place where I want to live. That's how I treat every single building.
Yeah.
Do I want to go here? Do I want to live here? Do I want to eat here?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, then we haven't done it properly. So we improved the whole fabric of the building.
Mm.
We redesigned the whole floor plan to the point where all the apartments were open plan. Every apartment had an island. Every master bedroom had an ensuite.
Yeah.
We rejigged it. Now, people are thinking, well, how did you know? How did you pick all of this up? You wouldn't have picked this up in a practice. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to people. So my uncle is a developer. He is Samson Homes.
Okay.
Samson Estates is my brother's company. My 2 brothers, Reza and Bilal.
Mm-hmm.
They do land and homes. Samson Homes, my uncle started as a bricklayer and worked his way up to become the developer that he is.
Wow.
I was absorbing so much information from these guys.
Yeah.
I was absorbing, taking in what I could. And then when you have that sort of understanding of the industry, and that's actually why Samson Space is how it is, because it's part of an ethos of different thinking. We think completely differently. We think from a user's point of view, naturally, because that's how we're trained to think. How does the person experience this space? But also, how does the developer make absolute best use of this site?
Yeah.
How does the developer know that he maximized the potential of that site? Obviously, without being damaging to the environment, without being an overbearing. You wouldn't put a 20-story building next to a row of houses,
Mm.
So you understand that balance, and I'm sure the architects and the designers and developers listening would understand that. But you have to do justice to the person who's living in that house, but also to the person who's building that house. And I think that's where the success lies in our business, in our framework. That my architects, my engineers, my developers, they all have that understanding. That we're going to deliver a beautiful building. It's going to be incredible. We're going to want to live there. Sometimes I even look at the building and I say, man, could I have one of those apartments? Let's just keep that one. Yeah, should we? Yeah, keep that one. Don't worry about it. I'll foot it. Don't worry. So you have to have that.
And how do you give somebody the £1 million bill? Yes, of course, you got £1.4 million. So that takes something.
We let them
especially
pay
off the first time when you're young as well.
We let them pay in installments.
I mean, that's fair enough. But
I wouldn't say, hey, cash, please.
We'll take a 5% deposit now.
There's a cash point just there. Does it work? It charges £1.95. That's all right.
No, but like that does take. It does take a lot to put that pen to paper and tell them what your price is going to be. Was it nervous in the beginning, or was you used to actually doing that because of the architecture background that you know these numbers fly around anyway?
Yeah, you're used to them. But I remember the first time I heard million when I was working in a practice.
Yeah.
And someone said, "Oh, it's 2 million," and I, as a 20-year-old, 2 million. Yeah. And you realise now that 2 million is good, but there's so much more. And I don't really get into numbers too much because I think that's where it starts to get each to their own. Yeah. But I've never ever been in the business of any form of bragging or showing off about. Yeah. Because I remember what it was like having £10 in my account. Yeah. And I remember that every single day. And if I think you have to be appreciative that you're in this position because you've been blessed. Yeah. And of course you have a responsibility to be thankful. You have a responsibility to always remember where you came from. Yeah. Never forget that, because you know how it is. We all know how it is. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Yeah. But if in here you're good, you're not fazed by what watch you have on or what car you're driving. To you, you're a champion no matter what.
Yeah. Confidence. Because a lot of it comes down to sort of confidence.
Yeah.
And where did you get your confidence from? Would you say you had natural confidence? Because some people are born with it. Or was you ever at a point where you think, oh, I'm really shy, and you had to break out something?
I remember being shy when I was about 4. Mm-hmm. This is going to sound... But my dad and I'm the youngest. I have 4 older brothers. Yeah. At that time, before my little brother and my little sister came along, I have 4 older brothers. And every party, every birthday, every Eid, it was, Mohsin, do that thing you do. Do that dance you do, that thing you do. Hey, well, show us that thing. And when you're 3, you're like, Daddy, no, Daddy. And he'd do it. Yeah, it was, do it. And then I used to hear this from my eldest brother, Raza, and my oldest brother Ali, my Yusuf, Rohan. You're not shy. I was shy, by the way. Yeah. They said, you're not shy. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I'm not shy. Even if you are at a young age getting up and dancing in front of everyone and making yourself look like a fool. Yeah. And that part of your body which goes, don't do this, man. Don't, man. There's people looking at you, man. Yeah. And that part of your face that goes red, that part of your face that fills with blood. Yeah. You do that enough times of when you're entertaining or talking in front of 30 people. You do that enough times, that part of your brain dies off, actually. Yeah. You don't feel, okay, I'm embarrassed, or I don't want to do this in front of people. So it was very early on that I started to develop. I used to do Michael Jackson dances around the playground.
I think we all did that at one point.
Right. And show us that moonwalk. And you're like, and then the first time you do it, you're really embarrassed. Yeah. And then the 10th time you do it, you're doing it with the, you know what I mean?
Got the one cotton glove on as well.
Exactly, man. I had the jack-ups, I had the white, the jack-ups, everything, the plimsolls.
Yeah. So this kind of does take me onto another direction a little bit as well. Because obviously, we have Mohsin Khan, the architect, the owner, the multi-million-pound developer. We've also got another alternate ego of yours, which you've put on social media, and it's something I know you're playing around with during the coronavirus thing. And this is the Joey V character you produced.
Joey V, shout out.
And
Joey
the videos, you create them and direct them. I'm sensing that you're doing everything in that. Your character, this piece of creativity that you've made.
Well, Tell me about that. Alter ego.
Yeah, because I saw this, and I got this vibe. This was during a lockdown thing, because it was in lockdown, and he's doing the coronavirus theme. And I thought, this guy has got a lot of energy he needs to bring out. That's what it is. Work has got really quiet, or it was because obviously everything was in lockdown, so everything just and you're thinking what to do now. So yeah, tell me a little bit about Joey V. I love it, by the way. I thought it was hilarious.
Joey V actually was a personality that I developed during university. So people play golf, people knit, people skip or do yoga. I speak in different accents and develop characters in my head.
Yeah.
Now, I did theatre.
Yes.
Back in the day, so
I could see it with the crackers and cheese, and you did theatre. It was all becoming...
Exactly, it was all forming that. I did theatre from performing in front of my family as a 5-year-old to taking it as a GCSE to taking it as an A-level.
I did it as an A-level, yeah.
It's my best thing ever, right?
You did Shakespeare, by the way.
Oh, dude. Romeo. But from university as well, actually. So I was always performing in some way, shape or form. And I remember we did a version of Macbeth, which my director said, "What on earth was that?" And I said, "What do you mean?" Because it was too much. And I grew up on Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Lee Evans.
Oh, lovely Evans.
Right?
Yeah.
And Eddie Murphy. So I grew up on actors in the face. It's all physical. So Joey V stemmed from my own insanity that developed into characters, because I used to speak in 9 different accents every hour. Yeah. Sometimes I pick up the phone even now with the clients that I'm familiar with. Yeah. I'll pick up in a completely different accent, and they'll be like, "Can I speak to Mr. Khan?" And I say, "What are you talking about? This is Mr. Khan. This is Edinburgh." And they're like, "Sorry?" And I'm like, "It's me. Come on, hey, let's get to business." But I had these, it sounds insane, I had these voices in my head that would always stem from characters that I'd seen, and it was just an outlet of creativity, because I spent my whole life being creative, right? Yeah. Acting, short films, all of these things. So lockdown came, and at that time we weren't even allowed to go into the office. It was stay home or die, right?
Yeah, it felt like that.
It felt like that, right? Yeah. Even though it might not.
Like 20 days later.
It felt like if you leave your house, you're not coming home.
Yeah.
So I was in the house, and I said to all of my team, "Look, we don't know what this is. Work from home. We'll set up all of the parameters to work remotely." And I found myself, I had 2 hours in the day just waiting on information for the company, or waiting to hear back. And my brother, who's also working from home, calls me up and says, "Hey, do you want to just meet up? Let's do it. Come over." And we ended up filming. Yeah. Just having fun with a camera. And we said, could you imagine if COVID-19 was a character? What would he be like? Yeah. What would he look like? What would he wear? And it just came out of that we just started developing, and I brought back some of the old characters I used to do in stage shows and all this comedy stuff. And it just stemmed from that, and it was a creative outlet. Yeah. That all of these characters, so I had a Texan character, which I'm not going to do for you. Yeah, I remember that. It's just really offensive stuff. But it was like these personalities and a creative outlet, because you're bored at home. Yeah. I'm used to being out my door at 6 a.m. In the gym, breakfast, office, run. Yeah. A company. Go and see 20 different people in the day. Yeah. And come home at 8 p.m, have dinner, go out with the missus maybe for a milkshake, and retire for the night, right? Yeah. To now being, and people aren't talking about it enough, but that has an impact on people, on your mental health. If you're used to a certain type of living, to now being stay at home, do nothing. Yeah. It can stem off in different ways. So for us, we just got really easy and creative and started to make these videos. And I can imagine some of my clients seeing this stuff and going, "I had no idea."
George, did you just sign the check off to that chap for £2 million?
Is this guy just building that 9-story build? No. Stop him. Yeah. So But the people that know me,
Yeah.
you know me, you've known me since I was 9 or 10. People that know me, like properly, they know that I have two sides to this. So I have the creative outlet, and most of my clients actually see that side of me because I make some really inappropriate jokes. I love the really twisted humor.
Yeah.
Oh, you know when you really confuse someone,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Sorry," I live for that. When they're like, "Oh, you can't say that," I love. So a lot of my clients see that side of me, and maybe not in the full flesh that is Joe V.
Yeah.
But they see elements of that, and I think you need something to keep life entertaining.
Yes.
You need to laugh. My dad still says it. He says, if you're laughing, you're living.
Makes sense.
And so much of today is about negative, scare, be worried. The world is a dark place. Don't leave your room.
Those goddamn cyclists taking up all that space. How dare they? Things like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, generally what I see, and this is one of the reasons why I stopped listening to a lot of talk radio, because I used to just spend a lot of time in my car driving from site to site, whatever it was. Yeah. And it's just a dark. It's always dark. They pit people up against each other. And did you know you should be angry about this because they're taking your tax money, by the way?
Oh,
whoa! And then yeah, and then life. I think everyone lives in a bubble. I think we all live in some sort of bubble, and our bubble is either this wonderful, great place I'm having loads of fun in, or this bubble is the complete opposite. It's dark and everybody takes advantage of you, and I'm never going to get a break.
Yeah.
And it's 5G is going to kill us. Whatever it is. But there's a bubble that people live in, and you're right. I think it does go to some extent where the bubbles that we live in, we make them sometimes for us or against us. And if you surround yourself with enough, I mean, it's really cliche. It's been said 1,000 times before. But if you hang around with enough negative people, your thinking becomes like that. And I remember when it comes to business ideas, because I'm like you sometimes, and I have an idea for a business or an idea for a project. I think, I'll do that. I remember asking somebody about it once, and there's a few chaps that hang about back in the day, and we'd sit and chat and have our coffees and smoke and then talk about things. And I remember asking him about some sort of business idea. He was like, "Bro, why would you want to do that for? There's loads of them anyway out there," and blah 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 boom. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I asking him for? And what you find is you talk to somebody who finds the problem in everything. But if it was somebody who came from a business background, maybe I would have listened to it more. But like I said, you surround yourself more and more with people who think it's a horrible world out there. No, that's not going to work. There's too many of them. Or stick to your own lane. That's another one. Have you ever heard that one? Stay in your lane. Yeah. Don't. You know what I mean, kid? It's
status quo. Stick to it. You touched a nerve, by the way, when you said the people that say, "But what do you want to do that for?" Because there's already a million about there.
Yeah.
You touched a nerve when you did that. The amount of people that are there to tell you, "Oh, that's not going to work."
Yeah.
Dude, really? In this climate, you with what you... Nah, come on. The amount of cancerous, toxic opinions, and that's all they are, that are out there. You speak to anyone about a business idea. 9 times out of 10, that person's going to say, "Dude, but have you thought about this? That's not going to work like that. Come on. What do you mean you're going to... That's not..." You have to literally tunnel vision that out. You have to surround yourself with positive. And that sounds so cliche, and it's like... I hate saying it, but it's the truth. You surround yourself with enough people that are going to tell you you're not going to do it, you might start to believe them. Yeah. That's the other thing. You have to have a thick skin to know when someone is that. When someone is... versus someone who's actually saying, it's going to be tricky, but if you think... there's a difference between someone who's genuinely trying to guide you and someone who's just saying you can't do that because they can't do it. Or they don't have the guts to do it. Yeah. I'll give you an example. I was at my nephew's 2nd or 3rd birthday party. And my brother invited his, family over and stuff. And I'm not going to name the person because they might be listening. Hopefully. Hopefully you need to listen to this. Yeah. And I'm there telling them about this new technology that we're developing in-house, Samson Space. It's a new virtual reality system which allows you to be inside the building entirely exclusively to the point where you have no idea you're in the real world anymore. Okay. And you get to see the building before it's even built. Okay. But you're inside it and you can make informed decisions that way. because you can go inside this virtual reality and say, actually, I don't like this window here. I want it to be here because I can. So you make informed decisions with this software, and we're still developing it. It's getting better and better every time we look at it. And I'm telling these guys about this, and these guys are from the other side of the family.
Yeah.
They're not.
Way across the other side of the family.
Way across the other side of the lake.
In obscurity.
Obscurity,
Okay.
they don't matter, they don't mean anything. And one of the guys said, really? No, they've already done that. No point. And I said, because you're an expert on architectural software, aren't you? And he went, I said, right, you know nothing about architecture. Thanks for your opinion. Now, there's a kid next to me from his side of the family.
Okay.
Who's saying, I want to become a pilot. Yeah? This kid is 16. Amazing kid. Amazing kid. Sparkle in his eye, the whole works. And we're standing there at this party. And I'm talking to this kid, and he's from the other side of the family. And he says, I'm going to become a pilot. And he says it like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to become a pilot. And I said, yes, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. And imagine I've said this to him now, yeah? I said, you're going to meet people, sometimes people that you know and love, they're going to tell you, it's really tricky to become a pilot, man. It's really, you have to, it's really difficult. I don't think do you really?
Not everybody makes it.
There's people with pilot degrees out there that are working into, do you?
What's your surname? Khan.
Ooh,
tough now.
he's flying a plane, really, in this? Yeah. I said, you're going to meet people like that.
Yeah.
And you have to treat them like a cancer. You have to surgically remove them, either in your head or physically remove them.
Yeah.
And say, thank you, but no thanks. I know what I'm doing. I know I'm going to figure this out. And so many people that become successful will tell you there were 1,000 people that told them, you shouldn't do this. There are people that they grew up with their own family saying, you shouldn't do this. This isn't going to work.
Another thing I was going to cross onto with you as well is obviously 27 years old, you're dealing with big clients, and you're dealing with obviously high net worth clients as well. They've come with a lot of experience themselves. A lot of them probably might not be your age. They might be a lot more senior to you. And how is that? I mean, is it intimidating for you to be speaking to people like that, or do you feel a sense of they look at me as like, he's just some kid, not in that respect, but I mean, there's a bit of like, I'm double his age. I was around, I was making buildings when he was still doing, Michael Jackson dances.
Yeah.
So what's that like? Do you get that? Do you feel it?
Initially,
Yeah.
more so when I was about 22, 23 maybe.
Yeah.
And even sometimes today, I see a young kid. I'm always going to be a kid, even if I was 50 years old, I'm a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But they see a young guy and they say, is this guy going to really? Don't you think it should be? And they, sometimes might challenge you.
Yeah.
It's up to you to decide whether you let that stick. And oftentimes, you have to let your work, you have to let your results do the talking.
Mm-hmm.
So, when a client does say, you're only how old? And to be honest, I say, look at the architects working for me.
Yeah.
They're in their 30s, 40s, and they're working for me.
Yeah.
Geniuses. I only employ people much smarter than I am. Don't tell them I said that. I hope they don't watch this.
Yeah.
But you have to, so much about early business, young businessmen, you have to develop a thick skin.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. Because you're going to get critiqued like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's critique or doubt in other people's eyes.
Yeah.
But if you believe it and you can convince them, then you're going to figure it out. That's it in a sentence. That the older guys, and it doesn't happen very often because so much of what we do now is to do with technology. Technology is such a huge part of what we do. My practice, technology is everything.
Yeah.
We're developing ways to build, ways to design, and the way the world works is, unless you adapt and get with the young kid, you're dead in the water.
You know, one of the other things was that, okay, so you've dealing with these sort of high net worth clients. Is there a particular personality you find amongst them, a trait?
Yeah. They don't take any rubbish.
Really?
They can tell you blagging from a mile off.
Time is money sort of thing.
Time is money.
Mm-hmm.
Don't waste my time.
Wow.
So if you're going to waste someone's time, it ain't going to work with the older guys. They won't have it for a second. And honesty is key.
Mm-hmm.
In anything you do. Honesty, being completely transparent. So when the older guy says, "Why are you doing it like that?" Doesn't it make sense to... You have to say, well, actually, if you don't do it like this, in 3 years when this regulation comes out, which is it's in play now, when this regulation comes out, you're going to have to adapt this entire thing. I'm saving you 300 grand. And sometimes that can be difficult to say to someone.
Yeah.
That I'm right and you're wrong in this instance.
Yeah.
But if
But
you,
then
again,
that's
if you
your-
have...
that's- yeah, it's your expertise talking, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to tell them, I know what I'm talking about. You have to, again, you believe in what you're saying,
Yeah.
and you don't let that go. Whatever that is. You know what's...
Well, I mean, so kind of branching off a little bit from that as well, is what, I mean, kind of advice would you give to a young entrepreneur, kid out there, or, you know, even if you're in your 30s, thinking of starting something up again, you know, what kind of advice would you give someone in that space who is either, you know, thinking about doing the business or tinkering with the idea, or maybe they're kind of like half in, half out? I'll give it a shot, and if it works out, I'll go with it properly. But if it doesn't, then I'll cut my losses.
Get good at what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Get good. And if you're not good, become good. And what I said to that 16-year-old, you have an idea in your head.
Yeah.
You have a vision. This kid wanted to become a pilot. You have to cut out all of the negativity. Figure out the way to do it. You set your goal.
Yeah.
You're not going to know straight away how to get there. Whatever that is. Whether that's financial independence, whether that's, you know, owning a home in Spain, whether that's starting a family. Whatever that goal is, whatever that looks like, starting a business, starting a company, building a restaurant, you know what it looks like in your head. You'll figure out the way to get there. That's the fun bit.
Yeah.
No business was ever built because someone said, you know, I might try, and then you have to see it in your head. And even if no one else sees it, nobody else, everyone calls you insane. People are telling you, don't do this. The amount of people that said, don't leave this company right now. Do you know the current climate of the country? And you're going to leave a well-paid job and start a company from zero?
Yeah.
There's going to be people that tell you don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do this, man. It's really not now. Not now.
Yeah.
You need to first... And there might be some truth to that.
But that's the thing. It also comes with a caveat, because I find one of the hardest things in a business, especially if you're running the business, is to know when to stop. Because sometimes you might... I mean, I know plenty of folks who... I mean, companies liquidate, fall apart all the time.
Yeah.
The success rate of, I think, a business lasting more than 5 years is like, 20% chance or 30% chance.
Yeah.
So the odds are against ones. Now, I know there's people out there who have sunk loads of money into a business, whether it's £20,000, £30,000. And it's almost, I wouldn't say it's similar to gambling, but it's also a similar trait where it's like, let me stay in this to get my money back. But then they're going deeper and deeper down this hole of more debt. I mean, it's all well and good saying, dude, just keep plowing ahead. But maybe have a choice where it's like, this is not really working out.
See, there's a fine line between starting a company that you have the traits, the knowledge, and the skills to do well in that. Or at least have the setup, the framework that you've set up to give yourself that foot. So, for example, when I left the architectural practice that I was working at, I had one client who said, I want to do this building. And I know you can do it. Because we had a meeting.
Yeah.
And it was only when I secured that client that I knew I've got enough finances here in this one project to keep me going for X amount of time. Play it smart, of course. I'm not going to say if you've got zero in your account to leave the job that's paying for your bills, paying for your food.
Yeah.
There has to be a sense of, this is the structure that I'm setting up. So I give myself a year, at least. Whether that's £15,000 in your bank or £10,000, whatever you calculate as your basic expenses, rent, mortgage, bills, food.
Yeah.
Going
Your running
out.
costs.
Your running costs, whatever that is, 5,000, 10,000, have that. You need that. You need that for, give yourself a year at least, I would say. If you can do more, great. Because you're releasing some of the pressure off yourself.
Yeah.
That if I don't land this deal that's coming up, I'm not going to eat or I'm going to get evicted. You're cutting that out because you know I have this. And people say, oh, you're doing it with a backup. No, you're playing it smart.
Yeah.
You put yourself in a position where you can, and after a year, if you get to the point where I still haven't, then you can always go and get another job.
Well, you always can.
You can always go and get another job.
Yeah.
And this thing about, I need financial security. Tell me what security is nowadays. They give you a month's notice and you're off?
If you're not a contractor. Sorry, mate, don't come in tomorrow, please. We're done.
We're done, sorry. The company's liquidated, sorry.
Yeah.
Where did that security go? You might as well take the chance on what you believe in and what you know and love.
What, that really rings true. I remember I was working for a local authority once upon a time. And I remember one of the guys there had done something he wasn't supposed to do. He made a comment, for example. And he was given the sack, more or less on the spot. And it was really, I felt so bad for him.
What did he say?
At that point, I remember he was packing his stuff up, and he was in bits because he had just put down his. I think he just found a new tenancy, and he put a bunch of money into his month's rent and blah blah blah. And he was he was a brave character, but I could see that he was gonna cry, man. You could see it welling up inside him. And but looking at that, and I thought, dude, I don't really want to be that vulnerable. Because watching that position, you think, dude, we're all expendable here. We're kind of all riding the Titanic, and some of us will get a boat, some of us won't get a boat, but we're all vulnerable to anyone.
You've seen the guy who was the top dog.
Yeah.
Empty his desk out.
Yeah.
That guy probably thought he had job security.
Yeah.
You have to make your own opportunities. You have to set yourself up. If you're interested. Now, there's people who are happy in that system of, I'm going to work, I'm going to get promoted eventually, if you get promoted. I'm going to work my way up, build enough experience, buy the house with the picket fence, get married, have 2 kids and a cat. Fine. If that's what makes you, if you're happy doing that, genuinely happy, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a type of person that isn't built to be an employee.
Yeah.
They know it the moment someone tells them what to do. Now, of course, there's some people that just don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone who doesn't like being told what to do, because no one really likes me.
Yeah.
Not everyone is able to go and make it as a businessman. Like you said, so many percentages of businesses fail within the first 5 years, even less.
Yeah.
But you know when you're really passionate about something. You know when you have the understanding to make a framework, to make something that brings value to people. What is that value? Whatever that is, whether it's playing a guitar in front of 1 million people or, drilling down in the middle of the ocean for oil. Whatever that passion is.
You know what? It's because there's a chappie. He's a barber, and when the COVID thing happened, he was doing home visits.
Brilliant.
But this guy was really good, and he was charging £90 a haircut. And I thought, where did he get the balls from? But then someone told me he's really busy. I'm like, really? He's really busy? And I'm sure there's a guy out there who goes, I'll do it for £20.
Of course.
But this guy had his
You
price.
won't get the fade, but it'll be a haircut.
But the guy, he was like, I'm a £90 guy. That's me. That's who I am. And he gives you the same blend. I'm sure it must be brilliant. But he knew his value. Probably one of the highest paid barbers I know.
Yep. Because you said it there.
Yeah.
He knew his worth.
Yeah.
So many people in business feel that they have to meet a certain standard of fee, let's call it.
Yeah.
So many people feel that I have to fit within this if you know your value is here, you will find that market. The most expensive cars in the world don't do advertisements.
Yeah.
The most expensive brands in the world don't do advertisements.
I don't think I've seen a Bugatti advertisement.
Yeah, it's probably the most expensive car in the world.
And they don't sell yachts on TV either.
You've never seen, hey, come and buy.
Yeah.
Because the people that can
we
do
a
that.
Giveaway. No, you don't get that.
Like, share, subscribe, and you could be in the winner. You know, you wouldn't ever see that because their value is set.
Yeah.
It's a little off topic here, but so much of young entrepreneurship is about looking the part. And by that I mean driving the nice car.
Yeah.
Having the expensive, the skin of what it looks like to be successful. So much of this generation is looking successful.
Yeah.
And people are getting so caught up in looking successful that they're living a life that they can't afford to live.
First thing that hits my head, and this is going to probably offend some Forex traders, but yeah, I'm talking about you, right? Forex traders are great at this.
First, I was earning $20,000 a month, and now I have 9 people.
Yeah. You know, there was one chappie, because we've got a media company, right? And one guy messaged me. He goes, yo, can you make a graphic for me? I'm like, what kind of graphic are you looking for? And he sent me a bunch of Forex graphics. So it's like, there's a guy there, and he's either on the private ship, or he's got a picture of him, and it's just all very affluent around him. And he goes, you make one like that, but can you do it for like 30 quid? This is like, because part of what he wanted me to write on the graphic was, you know, get rid of your 9-to-5 job and be financially free. I'm thinking, you don't sound very financially free yourself. Now he was and I was, I remember asking, how old are you, dude? And he was like I think he was 19 or 20. And I understand having a vision, having a goal, and having aspirations, but he was class A bullshitting his way through this one now.
Basically.
And and I think he got sucked into the vibe of look the part, be the part, and people throw their money at you.
See, this is a really touchy thing because there's actually traders who make a living from this and people you should listen to.
Yeah.
But 90% of what this guy maybe or what you see on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat is if you're not making the money you make, it's because you're not working.
Yeah, the old cliche.
And
most level marketers love that one actually.
This whole whole generation of looking rich, looking successful is damaging to people that can't afford those clothes, that can't afford that car.
Yeah.
It's looking the part when actually, if you put that much energy into actually building something of value, you would realize that that's not success.
Yeah.
To some people, that might be.
Yeah.
But the true success is when you don't need to look the part. You're not interested in what people think.
Yeah.
I need people to see me driving this car. I need someone to see me wearing this Rolex. Who are you really being successful for? Is it you? If you want to wear that Rolex because it makes you feel good and you appreciate its craftsmanship, fantastic. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Buy 10 of them. But if you're wearing it because you want to look the part of the person sat opposite, then that's a really, really dangerous territory to be in. It's toxic.
Yeah,
you see so much of it, and it kind of made me want to get off social media.
Yeah.
Because
I know some people who actually gone off just because of that, actually. Man, one chap, he don't go near it because he goes, my whole thing is just full of people posing. And there's people I know that are broke and they're coming off as...
That's it. But see, the people that actually are successful, you'll never see them standing in front of their car taking a picture like this.
It's funny, you know, Dan Bilzerian. I heard this thing about how he owes $50 million, he's practically bankrupt, and he faked his whole career, he faked his whole experience as a Navy SEAL.
All right.
I don't know if Dan's listening to this or watching this. I don't know if it's true either. I don't know if it's true, to be fair with you. Yeah. But he did a lot of the whole lifestyle flashy stuff, and then the minute someone found out, like, no, dude, you're not actually that rich.
Really?
And they've kind of sunk their teeth into him now.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be doing really well, but apparently he owes $50 million to a bunch of creditors after him and blah, blah, blah. But it's, you're kind of like, I know what you mean, because...
That beard's epic, though, isn't it? It starts there.
No, oh God,
it starts there.
Yeah, man. But I love his don't give a screw, attitude about it all.
He's
comfortable in his own skin, definitely.
I think he's a caricature of himself, and that's marketing himself.
He markets himself really well.
It's like Gary V.
Yeah.
If you ever see this Gary Vee, shout out. I got a lot of respect for that guy.
Yeah.
Because that's the difference between a person like Gary Vee and these guys that pose and give these speeches of, if you want to make it, you gotta want it as bad as you can breathe. You know, these guys that are motivational, but they've never done it themselves.
Yeah.
They want to tell you how to start a company. Have you ever built a company?
Yeah, it's like 9 Chilled Life Coaches.
Gary Vee, I watch a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
And because I think he speaks to a good number of demographics.
I think he's authentic.
I think he's raw. So he's something about his dad had a wine business of $1 million and he took it to 15 million using e-commerce. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
His track record shows that he's actually the real deal. So what he has to say has value.
Yeah.
But the guys that are just wearing the thing and showing off, and the skin is there, but the
I mean, it's all over Facebook ads.
Never been interested in that.
There's one ad I remember watching, and it was like, I'm making £25,000 per month, and you can too.
Fantastic.
I'm looking at his video, and I'm thinking, but you didn't spend any of it towards actually producing his video.
If you want to know how I did this, you pay a small fee. I know what you're doing, man.
Yeah. But I think because they hone into the vulnerable.
But there's people that are paying for that stuff,
it's
thinking I'm going to live that lifestyle, and that's
they hone into the vulnerable. They are leeches. They are bottom feeders, and they sink their teeth into people that think,
exactly. See, when business is really actually quite simple.
Yeah,
it's really, really straightforward. Give people the service.
Yeah.
Be passionate about what you do, and if you're not passionate about it, either get passionate about it or figure out what you are passionate about. I think there's people that own restaurants who don't know how to make an omelette, but they're passionate about giving people the best damn service and the settings to eat, and they bring in the best chefs to.
Yeah,
that guy who owns the restaurant has never made toast, but he figured out a way to give people the service and the.
Just finally, just to finish things off here with Samson. Because I remember we were talking about earlier, but just to bring it back to that. Samson obviously started off with you from the bedroom, and then it became this big, beautiful business it is now.
Alhamdulillah. That means praise be to God.
Thanks to Khabib, everyone knows what that means.
Alhamdulillah. Oh, Khabib's got a fight coming up, man.
Big fight. I'm staying up for that.
I'm staying up. Apparently it was at 10 p.m. though.
So I hear, so I've got more chance of actually waking up, staying awake for this fight. Starting an office, especially in architectural practice, does take, I'm assuming, quite substantial funds and money. Office space, employees, I don't know, materials and everything else that comes with it, software, IT, assets, everything else. Did you have to, because you were quite young when you started off, so was you privately funding, or did you seek out investment or anything like that?
We were in the fortunate position of requiring zero funding just because of how we started. It was our laptops.
Yeah.
And initially I was working from home in my conservatory, funnily enough. But we set the image up as if we were an established practice with 10 employees. So it was me and 3 other guys that I employed, because I knew we had enough funding from that one project that we were working on. Yeah. And we had loads of pipeline stuff, but initially it was that one project that allowed me to set up shop. Just landing that one project that would give me enough to last a year at least, and maybe a bit more if we were a little bit, which you have to be in the beginning. You have to hold on to the pennies. Yeah. So we were in the fortunate position where we didn't require any investment, and thankfully, alhamdulillah, till this day, praise be to God, we've never required any funding of any kind, to the point we're in the position now where we fund our own projects.
If anybody wants to find either yourself or Samson online, where do they find you?
samsonspace.co.uk. And for those of you who've seen the ad, we're also on Instagram, which is at Samson Space. Luckily, we found the username before anyone else did.
Oh, good.
No underscores, no ones.
And if they, obviously, they're your social networks. If anyone wants to call up Samson, or Samson got a hotline.
Yeah. You go on the website, samsonspace.co.uk. All of the details are there. Or you can write to me directly, and I say about me directly, it's my assistant, but I do read those emails. I'm still a micromanaging monster. Info at samsonspace.co.uk.
Wonderful. So I think it's been very enlightening having this conversation with you, Mohsin.
That's for me.
I mean, the camera switched off to a few times. We have to help.
Hey, we've got to keep it real. We've got to keep it on edge.
I love it. And the fact is, I really hope that I think in a few years' time, we will probably come back to this interview and some of the things you said here and see what happened with it.
I hope so too, man. It's been a pleasure speaking to you and exploring our different ideas, and you're going to be the best podcast in no time. Remember I said that here. Remember I said this now. But yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Signing out.
Hasta luego.